Well, there we go. On stage. Oh, so it's stories and chat day. And I thought I would just be here and tell a few stories. You can tell stories too, and we can chat. Um, let's see. Okay, there. I am just moving things around a little bit. Okay, great. Um, Hi, everybody. It is a great Thursday morning here in the Pacific Northwest. Not morning, afternoon. It is so sunshiny, so warm and lovely out, but not overly hot. So that is just lovely. Hi, Leah Omega. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to hang out a little bit and chat a tiny bit before we get going. I thought today, hello, user. Um, I am going to talk a little bit about Japan today because some of the spiritual things that happened to me in Japan, because often they're astounding things that, and I don't mean like astounding to me, I guess. Sometimes they're what I call the secret sauce happenings. So I love it when spirit shows me secret sauce, the thing like how things work. And it's amazing. Satori. Why Satori? Hmm, okay. Um, so some of you know that I have bought some property in Japan, an old house, a revelation. Oh, Leah, interesting. Um, and so I often go there to try to fix this house up. I really like doing that kind of work. I love all things building. So that's something that I really look forward to and like doing, like trying to figure it out. It's like a great big puzzle. And one of the things that I think makes it interesting now, I used to do this in the United States, but things got too expensive. And right now, houses in Japan are very, very cheap. And it's because that unfortunately, their whole nation is aging and dying. So a lot of people losing their homes or just leaving their homes, and then their heirs or their kids are not picking the houses up. They're just letting them go because if they claim the house, then they have to pay a lot of taxes, and then they have to clean it out, and then there's a garbage problem. So it's quite a lot to go on, and so I go there and I bought a tiny little house and I really enjoy it and I love fixing it up. But when I'm in Japan, I don't really get to speak uh, much English. So I'm hearing Japanese all the time. My husband speaks English to me, and his sister and mother speak English to me too, a little bit, but mostly they're speaking Japanese to each other. Hello, Akila B. We're just hanging out and chatting. I'm talking about Japan right now. I'm glad to see you here, Akila. Um, so when I'm in Japan, since I don't get to speak English much, I then spend a lot of time in quiet. And that gives me more time to actually interact with my guides, my angels and guides and beings of light. And so it sometimes can be very, very, very interesting. Uh, be, so it seems like every time I go there, something really interesting happens. And so this time, when I went to Japan just a few months ago, sometimes I do what I call running full open. And since that I don't have anybody to really talk to or do so much stuff with, sometimes in the morning, I will meditate and meditate in such a way to get ready as if I were going to read somebody. And I call that running full open. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to meditate, get ready, call all my guides in to help me do a reading. Except for this time, what I'm going to say is just show me the universe. Just show me today. I'm just going to run full open for the whole day. You just show me what I need to see. And so I will run what I call full open. And I'll just be there and do things. And I never quite know what's going to happen. But on this day, I had forgotten that I scheduled a massage. So we had found a masseuse nearby in the little town that I have the house in. And I completely forgot. And that morning, I was running full open and I laid down to get the massage. And this guy was a really good masseuse. I mean, really good. He he massaged but didn't hurt me. I hate it when they work on the little bumps and everything that's hard. And yeah, I don't want them to hurt me. I actually want to enjoy it, or I want it to feel good. But he somehow could do both. And even though it was only 30-minute massage, it felt like I had been massaged for an hour or something. He just did a really good job and got my muscles really relaxed and ready to go. But I forgot about the running full open. And so as I was laying there, you know when you close your eyes, if you close your eyes right now, you'll notice that, what you're seeing behind your eyelids is just kind of a grayish tones. It's not like very colorful or anything like that. And you can kind of see light through your eyelids just a little bit. Well, I was laying there with my eyes closed. And after a while, I realized, whoa, hey, my entire vision, it looks like just like when I just closed my eyes, but it's all in lavender. It's all a light purple. Why is my whole vision a light purple when, it was like, okay, I've never seen it like this before. And so I just waited a second and just kind of felt into that color, and I realized there was a spirit there wanting to talk to me. And I'm like, okay, I see you, spirit. Well, uh, who are you and what do you want? What do you want? And it was so astounding. It was his aunt who had passed away, and her name was Chego-san. So her first name's Chego, and san is just like honorific that you put behind their name. So like Mrs. Chego. So Chego-san was there. And she was this lovely, lovely woman. She presented herself older, which is also unusual when I'm reading as a medium and interacting with your loved one. They usually determine the age they want to be. They usually choose somewhere in their 30s because that's when we're a very vital time in our life. They rarely show what they look like when they were old, but she showed herself to me as she was old. She had gray hair. She was wearing a kimono, a beautiful silk kimono that had a lot of silver in it. And she had a beautiful obi belt on and her hair done, and she was just beautiful. And she bowed to me and then started speaking to me in Japanese. And I'm like, whoa, Chico-san, slow down here a sec. Hang on, Chico-san, please do your best to switch to English because That's what I speak. And so she did. She switched to English. And so this whole time that I'm doing this, I'm being massaged at the same time. And I'm like, Chego-san, why are you here? And I guess maybe because I was running full open, she said, well, I want to talk to you about my nephew. My nephew is the one massaging you. I'm like, oh, okay, Chego-san. What do you have to say? I don't know if I can get the message to him, but I am willing to listen. And she went on and started talking to me about, she said, when he was younger, because he was kind of a middle-aged man, when he was younger, he could feel people's pain. So as he was doing the massages, he knew where people hurt and what was going on psychically. She's saying he has psychic abilities too, and he could feel in his own body the pain. And she said now he's older and he's learned how to not take on that pain, but he still uses his psychic senses to figure out where you have pain. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. That's pretty interesting. And then she went on to talk about that he is a good person. And she said, he volunteers for a temple at a temple. I'm like, oh, okay. And she said he likes it best in the summer when he goes to the Matsuri. So Matsuris are parades, festivals, and usually they revolve around a temple. And oftentimes the temples have statues of their temple, and they're very large, and they put them on wooden planks, and they then get a lot of men to come and women too to come and hold the temple up and walk it through the streets at the Matsuri. And she said he volunteers there, and he often volunteers for other things too. And she said he's really worried about dying. He's worried about that he's not doing enough, and that he's not going to go to heaven. He's a little worried about this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she said he is searching a lot to try to figure out what to do. And she said, if you get a chance to tell him that all is well. She said, we like it that the ancestors, she was talking about the people standing behind her, that I could kind of see their outlines a little bit. She said, the ancestors and I love that he is dedicated to this, that he enjoys volunteering at the temple, especially at the Matsuris. And then she said, but we would like him to not take this too seriously. We want him to have more fun with this. We don't want him to be so worried that he's not good enough, that he's not going to go to heaven or things like that. She said he doesn't need to go in on the days where that they're doing some sort of blessings for the people who have already passed. She said, let the dead take care of the dead. And went on to talk more about some childhood things that he did, and talked about that how happy she was to have been in his life, that they all the ancestors watch and they enjoy so much what he's doing. And then she was done. And surprisingly, I still had more massage to go. Because it felt like I was interacting with her forever. And so when I was done, I then tried to tell my husband, like, husband, I had this visitation from his aunt, and the aunt wants to tell him some things. And, can we do this? And my husband was, now he believes in what I do, but he's like, "Oh, no, 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 I can't do that. I can't do that." And I've never asked him to translate for me for this kind of thing. And it would be hard to do. And he said, "No, no, no, come on, keep he's probably gonna have somebody else coming in. Come on, you have to leave." I'm like, "Okay." So I leave and we go home and I don't get to tell him what Chego-san said. But then the next morning, my husband surprised me so much. He said, "Terry, I've been thinking about your request." And he said, "It surprised me. I didn't know that was going to happen, and I didn't know that I might be called upon. But I've been thinking about if this ever happens again, how could I do this?" And I was impressed because he he's thinking about it. And he said, "I really figured out that had you been able to tell me the whole story, then maybe I would have been able to ask him. I could start the conversation by saying, 'Hey, do you volunteer at a temple?'" Yeah, and then he said, "Then I think I could have asked him, by by the way, my wife is a psychic medium and she has messages for you." So I was impressed that my husband kept trying, that he thought about it and thought about how he could interpret without being too uncomfortable. So that was kind of fun. Has anybody else in the chat had spontaneous, seemingly spontaneous, that visitations where you just suddenly knew stuff about people? If you did, go ahead and tell us about it. We can talk about it a little bit. I think that for one reason that that happened so easily that time was because, I didn't have a lot to think about and there was nobody to speak English with and there was, no entertainment going on or anything like that. So it was just easy to let that come. Okay, let's say hi to a few people. Hi, Mary Kim. Hi, and we already said hi to Akila and Leah Hong and user UD2. Thank you for coming to this. Um, I thought I'd tell you about another thing that happened in Japan. And it was one of those things, this is definitely a secret sauce. So I was, uh, from where this little house is, we don't have a truck all the time. We have to rent a truck if we want to go get stuff. And if we just need a few things, what we do is we walk to the local big box hardware store, and then we have to carry it back of whatever we get. So um, we went there in the morning to get some 2x4 studs that I needed. And on the path back to our house, there is a brand new McDonald's. And so it was early morning, and I asked my husband, "Do you want to stop into McDonald's and maybe get some coffee or get something?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do that." And so we stopped. There was a little place we could kind of put the lumber outside there it wouldn't trip anybody or hurt anybody. And we went upstairs. Got I got some coffee, he got some coffee and some pancakes, and we are just sitting upstairs. And this is near the end of our trip. And I was a little grumpy. And my husband, I just have to tell you a thing about my husband. My husband is very elegant. He eats elegantly, he drinks elegantly. Like me, I'm just gonna like chug down a glass of water, no elegance involved. Him, on the other hand, he's like, always nice, everything's elegant. But on this morning, I notice that he is, despite having a fork and a knife, he is trying to cram a whole pancake into his mouth. He is desperately trying to cram a whole pancake in. No cutting it up, no anything. And I'm just like, I'm a little stunned because that's not his usual style. And I'm also, like I said, I was a little bit grumpy and was just about ready to kind of tear into him a little. And my guides stopped me. They just stopped me. And and I'm like, what? And they said, master yourself and you can master the universe. And I'm like, hang on a sec, hang on. So if I can master myself, my irritation and not picking at him, if I can master myself and keep nicer words in my head and everything, that I can master the universe. And then I suddenly got mad. I'm like, damn it. Now inside, I'm not telling my husband this, damn it. How come it's always me? How come it's me? How come it's always me that's got to change? How come it's me? And they just repeat it again, master yourself, and you can easily master the universe. And I'm like, oh, I know that's true, but damn it. How come he's not going to get in trouble for cramming all these pancakes in his mouth, And they're and they just repeated it again to me, master yourself, and you can master the universe. So I didn't say, and then they repeated, they said, let him enjoy his pancakes. I'm like, okay. So I don't. I leave him alone. I don't say that. But so here's a tip for all of us. Master yourself. Just have control of your mouth and your emotions, and then you can master the universe. So there's some secret sauce for you. And they made it feel and seem like it would be so easy to master the universe after that. And here's what I also thought a little bit grumpily too is like, damn it, that will take me till I'm 90 years old. I'd like to master the universe a little sooner. So, so Akila, it is funny. Yes, it's funny. Does anyone else have any things like that? That things that have popped into your head and you realize it was great advice and hard advice. Well, let's see. Yeah, Aquila. I love that. Master yourself, you can easily master the universe. So it seems like we are much harder to deal with than the universe. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's probably why it takes us a whole lifetime to do this, huh? Well, so I do like it that they just suddenly spring things on me in Japan. Last time we were together, I told you about how in Japan that I just suddenly was surrounded by angels, and that was during the Day of the Dead a week, and I think maybe they needed to protect me. I recognized they were there because I could feel their energy. Their energy is bigger than ours, much bigger, and there was a lot of them, and so I could really feel it. But I could also feel it when they kind of finally went away. Um, but maybe I could concentrate it on it because I wasn't like I didn't have anything that I had to watch or participate in or even talk to. So yeah, so true. Master yourself. That's a tall order. Not that Zen yet. I am not that Zen yet either. I'm going to try. I'm getting better. I'm actually pretty good, but not always. And in Japan, it was near the end of our trip, and I was a little bit grumpy already. I was grumpy already. Yeah. So thanks, Leah. Well, master yourself, and you can master the universe. So that's amazing. Um, because I thought I might go through that really fast. And I want to take a little bit of time. I thought I'd also tell you about some happenings here in the United States, especially at some fairs. So, oh, what's a case? Yes, my daughters were arguing, and I was about to approach them, and I heard my guides say, "Wait and listen." I waited, and their argument turned to laughter. Oh, that's so wonderful. I absolutely love it when my guides stop me, when they say stop. Just hang on a moment. And before I ever became spiritual like this, they did it even then. So when I was getting divorced back in the 80s to my first husband, I, of course, actually, it wasn't a very bad divorce, but it was trying. It was hard, and I also had grown up Catholic, and so we weren't really, really strong Catholics or anything. But so I would be the first person in my family to have gotten a divorce, and so I was really feeling bad. And the person I had married also was like a fundamental Christian, like a holy roller kind of Christian. No, yes, Keeler, that's good. Um, and so it felt like I was sinning big time and making, to divorce him. This is going to be a sin, maybe that never goes away. I just, I was feeling kind of down, and I got up to go get some groceries. I was kind of tired, and the kids were playing outside, and it's hard to herd everybody into the car and go get groceries. But I was going there, but I wasn't thinking too hard. And there's suddenly I just noticed this voice, or I'm claircognizant, so it wasn't really a voice. I just heard Terri. They always say my name like that. Terri, Terri. God only wants one thing of you. I'm like, what? One thing? I'm like, well, that sounds easy. What is it? And they said, God wants you just to be happy. What? Just to be happy? Yes, he wants you to be happy. All you have to do is choose happiness as your default, and all will be well. I said, well, hang on. You don't want me to go to church for hours and hours and hours, because the holy rollers go to church for hours and hours and hours. Catholics do not. Um, and they, because I was thinking, wow, I mean, that's 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 really easy. I said, are you sure? That sounds really easy. And they're like, yes, just be happy. Just choose happiness. And I said, okay, I choose happiness. I'm going to be happy. And then with my newfound happiness, I went to the grocery store, rounded up the kids, went to the grocery store, got our groceries. And ever since then, my default mode is happiness, just happiness. But that was a time that I should have been scared. Based on the fundamental religion, I should have been scared. They would have said, "Oh my gosh, maybe the devil's talking to you." But I wasn't scared at all. I like knew this voice. I just knew them, and I knew that whatever they had to say was the truth and was going to be good. And so I listened to that and just chose happiness. Oh, and joy. Yes, we had joy. Yeah. I'm going to go back to Kayla. Yeah, I love what Mary said, because Akila said sometimes stepping in escalates it. So I'm trying to be patient. Don't you love it when your children teach you? And Akila says, Mary, I'm not going to let them know that. That's right. That's right. My kids are old enough now. My kids are all in their 40s. So I can now tell them those kinds of things without getting into too much trouble. So or causing more fighting. But they rarely fight now. They're adults. Yeah. Well, you know, that little voice that sometimes you hear is also your intuition. It is a clair, and you can develop it more. So I think do the one of the ways to develop it is to spend more quiet time. And we just so rarely have that available to us. Our lives move so fast. But if you can make space for a little bit of time, quiet time, you can develop empathy more. You can develop your clairs, and you can hear those voices. And then, of course, the other part is you have to trust those voices. So I thought I would also tell you about some of the fairs. So back to the fairs. Um, in the Pacific Northwest, we have many, many metaphysical fairs. I could probably go to a fair every weekend if I wanted to. I don't because that's a lot. It's kind of a lot to have to work on and do. But I was at what we call here the Alchemy Fair, and it's in a great big ballroom and arena place. It's huge. It's really a massive fair. And I always put my booth in the hallway that goes towards either the entry door or the exit door. And what I've noticed is at near the end of the fair, people will suddenly just stop in real quick and jump in the chair into my booth and get a reading before they leave. And so it's always kind of fun to get those just sudden readings. And so a woman, she said, I have to have a reading before I go home. So she sat down and I read for 20 minutes for, 30 or $40. And so she sat down and I always asked them, what do you want me to read on? And she said, I want to talk to my mother, my, uh, my mother, my brother, and my dad. And so I did mom and dad first. They were really easy to get. She had a really light spirit, and it was just easy to really get into her vibrations and really kind of interact. It was really easy. So mom and dad were easy, easy peasy. Got them really quick. They gave really great messages. And then brother showed up. And brother, I could see him standing behind her in my mind's eye. He wasn't physically there. I didn't see a ghost or anything like that. But he's standing behind her and he's smiling like crazy. And he's holding up a wire coat hanger above her head. And I'm like, okay, yeah, your brother's here. I got him. And so I am racking my brains trying to figure out what is the spiritual meaning of a coat hanger? Is he saying, I'm her support, or I was always there for her, or I'm just trying to sort through whatever knowledge I have. Like, what does this mean? And I'm trying really hard. And finally, I give up. And I have to tell you, if you guys are psychic mediums, oh, Ron is here. Ron, I haven't seen you in forever. I'm just telling stories right now, Ron. Um, anyway, so her brother is standing behind her, holding up this wire coat hanger, and I'm like, what is the spiritual meaning of this? And when I give up, finally, I just actually give up this time. And I say, I'm not sure why, but your brother is standing behind you, holding a wire coat hanger up. She starts laughing so hard, she almost falls out of the chair. And I'm like, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" And she said, "If he were still here," and it seemed like he had not passed too long ago. She said, "If he were still here, and if this were like a family party, like, Thanksgiving or Christmas, we would all be telling stories about each other." And she said, "We would be telling stories about him and that coat hanger." She said, the first time I got cable television, cable, I couldn't get it quite to work. So I asked him to come over and help me. And he came over and he brought a wire coat hanger to fix it. Of course, it didn't fix it because it's cable. Wire coat hangers don't work with that. And so he showed her something, important evidence to make sure that she knew it was him. And from there, the reading went really easy because he was there. He really did want to talk, but he really wanted me to get her to laugh about that coat hanger. So that was a lot of fun. I love it when the people on the other side are having fun with me. Yeah. Yeah, you cannot make this stuff up. I like it when they have fun and when they're easy to read. Um, at that same fair, I had another one that was so much fun. Uh, some of you may remember the rest of the story lady, but at her second visit to me at that fair, oh, you're stuck at a pop ed freight train, a pop up freight train. Um, so at that fair, she wanted me to talk to her brother in law, amongst others. There was a bunch of people. And the brother in law came in really fast. I was really surprised. He came in fast. And so I'm like, okay, he's here. And so then I start to describe him. And it was kind of amazing. So he was wearing a baseball uniform, like a professional baseball uniform, with the stripes, white with the stripes, the socks that kind of come up to the knees, his hat and everything. And in his hand, he kept popping a baseball up and down, with a big smile on his face. And he's popping this baseball up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's giving me evidence, but he's not saying anything. So I say, okay, your brother-in-law's here, and I see him, and he's wearing this baseball uniform, and he's popping this ball up in his hand. And I have to tell you, before I tell her this, I'm a little worried. I'm a little scared, you know, to read as a medium, you have to be a little bit brave because it could mean nothing to her, and she could be like, "You're a nut." And so okay. I hope she knows he likes baseball. And so I'm describing the uniform and popping this up, and she starts laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, oh, well, good." I always think laughing is good or crying or laughing. Good. I'm like, "Okay, so, tell me why that that tickles you." And she said, "I miss my brother-in-law so much." He went about 6 months ago. He was my baseball buddy. She said, "Nobody else in the family loved baseball like we did. We went to all the games together. We had so much fun. We always tried to figure out, like, what team we should cheer for and who's gonna win the World Series and things like that." And so then I asked him for more messages. He was a good communicator. He started talking to her and giving her messages. And then at the very end, he just volunteers this. He says, "Oh, by the way, tell her I know who's going to win the World Series this year." And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll tell her this." So I tell her, he says he knows who's going to win the World Series. And she said, "Who?" She goes, "How? "Oh my gosh, how? How could he know? And who?" And I'm like, I'm not gonna ask him that because I don't know who the teams are, and I'm probably gonna get it wrong. And also, I don't think we should know this." So anyway, she accepted that answer. But he was fun. He was cheeky. I love that he used the whole baseball analogy, even in the answers he gave her about the other side and what he was doing. He used kind of baseball language. So he kept with that theory that theme to really let her know and me know that was him. So that was so much fun. So much fun to see him smiling like that and popping that baseball up and down. And of course, I was relieved that she knew he liked baseball because that made it easy. And that's why, when we're on shows and stuff, we do want you to give feedback because it helps us know if we're in the right ballpark, if we're doing the right thing here. Well, that was kind of a pun, the right ballpark. But really, we do like to know if we're following the right energy. And so we love it when, when Jean and I and Terry Lee and Joan, when we're reading, and you guys validate what we're saying, or like, oh, I know what that means. That really helps. It helps us know. And if any of you are new readers, um, you know that the validation is so important because what it does is it helps us build a spiritual vocabulary or a spiritual dictionary. We start knowing what things mean, and we start knowing when we're on the right track, when we're getting the right information. So thank you always, always, always when you give feedback because that helps a lot. Let's see. Let me think. What else? Um, that day in that same reading, it's all about trust. Yes, Ron, it's all about trust. It's about trust in yourself, but trust in spirit. Yeah. Help me move this train first. Leah is stuck behind a train, still waiting. That's okay though, too. Maybe you're supposed to be waiting right now. But we'll send a little energy your way. Okay. Um, you know, always when we're doing psychic mediumship readings and Akashic record readings or tarot readings, any of the kind of readings we have to trust what we get because it means something to that person. And you have to go out on a limb and do it. So I do feel like a lot of times we are called just to have courage to go ahead, follow the idea, follow the thing they're giving you, even if you're afraid it's going to make you look stupid. You have to follow it. And so many times we follow it, and we find out that it means a great, great deal to somebody. Like, for instance, since I'm clairvoyant, I see, they show me things. And I'm claircognizant. So they just put things in my head. It's like they're talking in my head. And so what I have to do, since I can't bring you into my head and watch the little movie with me or do the things with me, so I try to describe everything I see. Because I don't know what means something to you and what is just background noise. Like, for instance, one time I was reading somebody and they wanted to talk to their grandfather. And the first thing I saw when I tuned in was the back of a door, like a door in a bedroom. And on the back of the door, there was a hook and there was a flannel shirt hanging on the hook. And it was kind of a blonde flannel with thin black stripes. So it made kind of big squares in the plaid. And it was just hanging on the door. Well, to me, it's just a shirt that somebody maybe just hung there because they like to use it a lot or something. But of course, I know that I'm not here just for myself, and so I have to describe that. So I described the shirt to her, and it turned out that was her grandfather's evidence of who he was. That was his favorite fishing shirt that still to this day in the house that they have received from him still is on the back of the door because it's his favorite fishing shirt and they just couldn't bring themselves to get rid of it. So that is amazing. And so that's often what I do is I try to just describe everything I see because I don't know which thing means something and which thing doesn't mean something. Um, Ron says, one time I had a power animal reading and got a stingray as a power animal. Um, so I'm not sure WT stands for, but oh my God, I had to trust and said it. And the lady says, oh my God, and told me this story. Yep. Yep. You just have to trust that they've given you the right thing and that it means something to them so that they know that you actually have got the right person. Um, that's called getting evidence. And when I'm meditating and getting ready to do this, I do let my guides know that the person, whoever we're going to read, has to give me evidence. I am not going to read them unless they give me evidence. It doesn't have to be a lot of evidence, and it can be blended into what they're saying to me or trying to tell me, but they do have to give evidence that I can't personally know. So, in other words, they are very fond of saying, I love them. They all love us. They do, but that's not evidence. Everybody loves us over there. Everybody is loved. They're just all about the love once they're on the other side. So that's not evidence. I need something that I can't know to let them know that who this really is. I had a reading once where that the spirit of her, it was a daughter of a mom, and so it was her daughter, and the daughter of the person on the other side was there too. So daughter and grandmother wanted to talk to mom, and that person was such a good communicator. And I think that in life she must have talked a lot because she was so good. She even made me feel, because usually I'm not clairsentient. I don't usually feel things, but I could feel how she died, that she had breathing problems, heart problems and breathing problems. My chest just really felt heavy. It was hard to breathe. And they were able to say, yes, that's how she went. And then the other thing of that reading that was so astounding was, so the mother was sitting right in front of me and the daughter was sitting to the side. And the mother, I just felt drawn to her hands. I just, I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I usually don't do this, but I just have to touch your hands. I have to touch. So she put her hands out and I put my hands on hers. And I was just like, oh, this feels so good. And I realized it was the person I was reading, the spirit on the other side, kind of holding hands with her mother. This felt so good to her. And then I noticed after a while that my fingers were touching the rings on her hands. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why, but I'm saying this out loud. I'm completely drawn to these rings. Wow. I said, "I'm just giving me full body chills. These rings are something else, you know, and I can't stop touching them, which is a little odd." Um, and the mom starts crying. She said, "We really, really wanted to talk to her today, and I put her rings on to come here." So all of the rings on her hands were her daughter's rings. They weren't her own. And that's why I just couldn't stop touching the rings. And that even made the spirit, the woman who's on the other side's daughter finally start crying, because she was really like, she was there with her grandmother, but she wasn't buying it. And then once I just had to touch those rings and had to completely bring those forward, that's when the daughter finally like, okay, yep, mom is here. We got her. Yeah. But she was a fun, good communicator. Yeah. So let's see. You know, we only have a few more minutes left. I was just going to do 1 hour, but I was wondering, what kind of things would you like to hear about next time? Is there any particular thing about spirituality or being a psychic, a medium, or a Akashic record reader that you want to know? Because I can, next time we could do a show about that. Is there anything you're really, really interested in that I could do a show on? I was thinking that maybe next time we could do Akashic. I could talk about Akashic records and Akashic record reading a bit. Because that is also really, really interesting. And what's interesting about it is it kind of uses a different team, so to speak. I call mine my spiritual teams. One team is my angels, spirit guides, beings of light, ascended masters. That's one team. And then I also have the Akashic Records master team. And all of you have your own set of Akashic Records masters. And we could talk about that and how it works. Or I could tell you more about different readings I've done where that spirit has blown my mind. So does anybody have any suggestions? Okay, well, if you do have some suggestions, or you think about it, or maybe you're driving right now, I don't want you to try to chat or type in the chat while you're driving. That means you, Leah. Don't do that. Be safe. You can always, after this is over, go in and hit the thumbs up, and you could put a comment in. This is what I'd like to hear about, or I'm interested in angels, or I'm interested in spirit guides, or I'm interested in beings of light, or the Akashic Records Masters. And just let me know, and I can go back and look at some of my adventures and talk about some of those type of things. Okay, well, it seems like there's not very much chatting going on. So um, I will be back again. I'm doing these about every 2 weeks. Last week is when I was supposed to do it for this month, but if I just wasn't feeling it last time. I wasn't sick or anything like that, because some people called me because they thought I was sick. I just I'm involved in a roofing project right now, and I'm doing a little fix to my roof, and I was feeling like I needed to keep doing that, and I just wasn't feeling like I could stop and do this. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel it, and I'll just do it next week. So that's so about 2 weeks from now, I'll do this again on a Thursday. I might even try to do it 1 hour later than this because I'm trying to hit people at a different time, because maybe people work and they can't always, get off work and do that. Hi, Viviane. Thank you, Akila. Um, yes. Thanks, Ron. Bye. Much love. All stay safe. Yep. So if you guys have time, do the thumbs up. Put a comment, put in the comments what you want me to talk about next time. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you later. Bye.